Hey class, welcome back to the Alex Keller video blog series, and today we got number 2. PowerPoint number 2, planning and goal setting. What are the do's and don'ts, and how do you properly plan and set goals? So for this one, I chose two very vague kind of talking points, but definitely two very important ones. Definitely two important ones you have to realize if you're going to successfully coach or set plans with athletes, students, or your clients. So the first thing I brought up or wanted to discuss was the phases of coaching. Now, there are only 3 phases listed in the PowerPoint, and they read off as such. Number 1 is helping the client determine their vision. Number 2 is helping them formulate a plan to achieve their goal. And number 3 is support the client in the realization of the objective. Now, in just those 3 steps, it appears super easy. I mean, hey, it's easy to be a coach. I know all 3 steps right here. Now, but the problem is, and things you got to understand, is that those 3 steps can take from 1 week up to a year, maybe even longer. There is no defined set amount of time to where coaching starts and ends. There is no start date. There is no end date. And it's important to understand that it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time to get a client to open up and to be honest with you. And, especially if you're dealing with an introvert, it may take a lot of extra effort in order to build that relationship to get to a point to where your client, your student, your athlete, whoever it may be, trust you enough to where they can talk to you openly about what it is that is on their mind, their fears, their concerns. There's a lot that goes into it, and especially if you're on the interviewee end, and if you've been in this situation, it takes some time till you feel comfortable opening up and explaining, why you're scared, what you're worried about, and things like that. So as far as that's concerned, the phases of coaching, number 1, help the client determine their vision. And, going back to my example I used in the first PowerPoint video blog series episode, it really does take sitting them down and asking them maybe verbatimly, what is your goal? What do you want to get out of this? And once you understand someone's end goal, for me, it was where do I want to be in 5 years? And that was, I wanted to be a director of graphic design or creative services at a university of some sort or with a team of some sort. And once I put that goal out there and I set that as my overall goal, all right, 5 years, this is where I want to be, then it's time to formulate that plan. How do you help, your student, your athlete, or your client achieve that goal? How do you make sure that they take their vision and then they break it up into a plan to where this is what they're going to do every single day to take small steps in order to achieve that goal. And then, after you have a plan, it doesn't just end there. You're not just going to be like, all right, well, you're set. I'm good. We'll check in with you in a few weeks. No, you got to kind of hold them accountable. You got to be that person that kind of checks in on, be like, hey, so how are things going? You got to constantly have that contact with them as a coach if you want to make sure they're sticking to their plan and they're doing the right things to help them be successful. And this kind of helps caveat into the second point from this PowerPoint I wanted to talk about, and that was strategies to goal setting. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about setting a goal. I mean, according to this, it was, you have options of some people write a list, some people fill out a questionnaire, some people are really good with keeping calendars and writing everything on there, having a vision board, maybe like a little bulletin board with just a whole bunch of just images of things you like, things you want, things you aspire to be at one day. You can make a commitment you're unlikely to break, such as joining a team or something like that if you're unlikely to break that commitment. And you can create a timeline, starting with the end and then working your way backwards from there. But the one thing that is very important as a coach, and this really comes through that, building that relationship with your client, your student, your athlete, is finding out what type of person you're working with. Are they, more of a visual learner, audible learner? You got to really learn the personality type of the person you're coaching to find the best goal-setting strategy that's going to be most effective for them. So for me, for example, I'm a very visual person. I have a vision board. So you're not going to be able to see it, but it's behind my computer. So every single time I look up from my monitor, I've got a little vision board. I've got a little notebook right over here. This is my list. I make lists every single day. But again, this all comes back to I'm a very visual person, so seeing it makes it a tangible item I feel like I can achieve, right? So when I make a list, it allows me to, all right, check stuff off, all right? I'm very much a person that's like, all right, one little thing at a time. We're just going to go block by block, brick by brick, and we're going to knock it all out. But this changes based on the person. I mean, some people like auditory, Monday morning motivations and stuff like that to really get them going. But just knowing who I think it is important to note, and my whole purpose in doing this was just to know the personality type, the character, who you're working with, and this comes through that opening phases of coaching where it's going to take time. It doesn't just happen overnight. It takes some feeling out the conversations, learning about each other before you can really open up and actually start hashing out a plan. So I thought that was worth noting and definitely something that affects me. It was something that helped me get to where I'm at and something I try to apply every single day with the students I work with. I've got student interns that will always ask me questions and stuff, and they have a list of things to do as well. Same with me. So I try to help them figure out, what's going to be the best way for you to break this down and get this stuff done, right? So, yeah, definitely something that applies to me now, being on the other side and helping others and, building them up and getting them to a place to where they can help others. But, a year ago, I was in the interviewee shoe. I was the client. So definitely worth noting and definitely something to carry with me as I move forward. But we'll see you all in episode 3.